Well, hello everybody. Welcome back. Jiu-Jitsu 2000 here today. I'm coming at you with an interesting video. My apology for being inside. Normally, I like shooting these alone videos outside, but it is raining. Cats and dogs outside right now. So today I want to talk about Alone Season 3, Episode 6. Wow, a lot of stuff happened in this episode, so if you haven't seen it, please turn this video off because it will contain massive spoilers. A lot of things happen in this episode. First thing we see on the screen is a quotation. It says, "All that an obstacle does with brave men is not to frighten them, but to challenge them." Woodrow Wilson. So let's start. Day 45. Wow, 7 people left. 1:47 in the afternoon. We're going to talk about Callie. The scene opens up. She's got her pot. She's cooking her clothes, her wool socks. And there's an annotation on the screen, and it says, "Boiling water sanitizes clothing by killing bacteria, viruses, and other pathogens." Then she starts to talk about the fact that she has 3 spider bites on her right hip area, and they're bad. There's a lot of swelling right on her right hip butt kind of area. Crazy. She says they're mildly infected, she thinks. Then another annotation comes on the screen, and it says these bites resemble the bites of a Chilean recluse, a highly poisonous spider found in South America. So it was a Chilean recluse. She had a moment concerning herself about what if she gets pulled because of an infected spider bite. And it's kind of crushing her. She doesn't want to quit. Another annotation comes on the screen, and it says a Chilean recluse's venom is more potent by volume than a venom from a rattlesnake. Well, that's crazy. She decides to go looking for plantain. It's interesting because plantain, and this is a poor example, but plantain is a very good medicinal and edible plant found abundant in North America. And I got these tonight just because I wanted to show you what the leaves look like. They're very noticeable. Again, these are poor examples. From my experience, I see plantain mostly between spring and fall, and they grow all over the place. And they have these big ribs in the back of the leaf. This is a narrow leaf or a long leaf plantain. There's also a broad leaf that's got big round leaves. And in the wintertime, it's just a lot less abundant. So these small, tiny little leaves. So she goes out and finds plantain, which was surprising to me because I didn't feel like, being the wintertime starting there in Patagonia, I didn't feel like plantain would be easy to come by. So let's move forward. Yeah, and she finds some. It shocked me. I thought that it would have been scarce, kind of like it was here. But she found some narrow leaf plantain. She hasn't seen any the whole time she was there, and yes, she found some narrow leaf. She's going to make a poultice. And then there's an annotation on the screen. It says, when applied to wounds, certain poultices can draw out infections and reduce inflammation. So about 8 o'clock, day 45, she's making a poultice on a rock. Now my thoughts, I would think of making a spit poultice. And that, what you do is you put the leaf in your mouth, chew it up, really good. Put a little saliva with it, mix it around, and you spit this out and you put it on the wound, wherever the wound is. Okay, it's like a wet, kind of nasty thing. Well, she's doing the same thing, except she's doing it by mashing it on a rock, which is smart. And I noticed that the rock, from what I could tell, now I could be wrong, but from what I could tell on the screen, it looks like it was a granite rock. And I thought that was cool. So she's going to add some usne. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Usne, and there's an annotation that says usne or something like that. I'm not familiar with that one, but there's an annotation that says that and plantain are both known for their antibacterial properties. And I think she did a great job on this poultice. Then there was a shot that shows her putting it on a gauze pad and applying it to the area. Then there was another annotation on the screen, and it said each participant is supplied with first aid for emergencies. Now, she said that there's not medics running around or producers coming and giving them medicine or food or checking their wounds. Not even close, she says. We're really out here on our own. Let's move forward. So we're on day 46. We're starting at 7:37 in the morning. 7 people left. We're talking about Dave. And he's whittling a stick. And he's thinking about, and he wonders if he would do as well on this alone thing if he didn't have a camera to talk to. You know, it is kind of interesting. I'm sitting here looking at the camera right now, and that he's kind of thinking the same thing. He says it's fun. And he wonders how much a camera like that costs. He says, I just want to set it there, he says, and not actually film anything or get footage, but just sit it there. And then I'm quoting him here. He says, "You're my Wilson, baby." And he's laughing, having a good time. Now, I noticed that he's using a Mora knife, but at this point, I wasn't sure what model it was. Now, he says he's going to concentrate on fishing. He says that it's been fairly productive for him lately. And I noticed that he's hand fishing, not literally with his hands, but he's got a piece of wood with line wrapped around it, and he's throwing it out in the water. He catches a fish, and he gives thanks to it again. I noticed that he's very appreciating the fact that he's catching resources. And I also got another glimpse of his knife. It's a Mora Bushcraft in olive drab. It's a good knife. I have one in a black knife. It's really nice. So he opens up the fish and he finds its sperm sacs. He says he's going to eat that. And there's an annotation on the screen that comes on, and it says a fish's reproductive glands are high in protein. I'm thinking, sperm sac high in protein? Yeah, duh. So he slurps that thing down. I was kind of grossed out. I thought it was funny though. Then another annotation comes on the screen, and it says in Japan these are called shirako and enjoyed as a delicacy. So he decides to start making a drying rack for fish because he doesn't know when he'll be able to get another fish again. I thought that was really smart. I've been saying this all along, this whole time. He's really smart. He's used bamboo to do it. Now another annotation comes on the screen, and it says depending on its size, a piece of smoked fish can stay fresh for months. Versus, now I'm back to me now, versus if you cook it, it's only good for a couple of days. So I've been saying this, and it's good to see somebody doing it. You know, he says he doesn't want hunger to have power over him. He wants to be out there for a long time, and he says he's been thinking ahead a lot and has a plan. He fillets the fish and says, and I'm quoting him again, he says, if I eat one fillet every 3 days and I store the rest of the fish, I feel like I can do what's going to be done to make 6 months out here. That's true. Very smart tactic, I think. Let's move forward. Day 46. We're still on day 46. We're around noon. 7 people left. We're talking about Greg now. He said he's looking, you know, the camera opens in the shot, and he's sitting there like he's in deep thought. And he says it's a lot of work to get firewood around here. Says he's been pretty lucky with the fishing lately. He says he's getting tired in the day, and taking firewood is exhausting him. Another annotation comes on the screen, and it says chopping wood can burn between 400 and 500 calories an hour. Then he says he likes big fires at night. He likes lots of light, warmth, but it's wearing him out to go 300 yards to get firewood. Another annotation on the screen, it says standing dead wood has less moisture and makes the best firewood. He says he's subjected to the elements 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, day after day, and he can't seem to stay warm or get warm. Personally, I think that he's losing body fat, which is losing insulation, and that's why he's getting cold. He says he's used up all his firewood that he can find. He decides to move tomorrow. So he goes to check the line. He has a fish. He walks in to get the fish. He talks about the rocks being slick and everything, and the water, and the water goes over his boots and gets in his feet are wet now, and he's really cold. And then he slips, trips, and falls in the water. Crazy. And his quote, "No, no, no, that's cold. Oh man, that hurts." I believe him. I feel for him. I'm just like in shock. Another annotation comes on the screen. It says severe hypothermia sets in when a person's body temperature drops below 92 degrees Fahrenheit. It can prove fatal in less than an hour. He says that he feels sick to his stomach, so he decides to get out of his clothes, which was very smart, I feel, and luckily he had a fire going to warm up. He says, "Thank goodness," and I'm quoting him again, "Thank goodness I had a fire going before I went to go check that line. In all honesty, I would have been dead." Wow. I like him. I feel for him. Let's move forward. Day 47, 10:27 in the morning, Callie. She's taking the bandage off. She checks the bite area. It seems to be getting better. She says she'll bandage it up again until she's good to go. Another annotation comes on the screen, and it says Chilean recluse bite symptoms include fever, rash, and nausea. Now she says slow and steady wins the race when it comes to herbal medicine. I agree with her on that. She says positive mentality out there is everything. She decides to stay busy and starts making a stringed instrument. She's burning the wood with the coals to make the cavity for the strings. She says this ain't gonna be no Lucas Miller guitar, that's for sure. I found that interesting. I thought that was cute. Then there's an annotation on the screen. It says Lucas Miller was a participant on season 1 of Alone. For those of you who didn't see that, he was the one who made a really nice little guitar. He was the one that cut down trees and made a boat, and he was very talented with wood. So let's move forward. About 11:19 at night. Her guitar has 4 strings, and she sings a little song, plays a little music, and it sounded really good. She said she feels ill and doesn't want to go home. She says infection is coming back and she can feel it in her glands. I feel for her. And then there's an annotation on the screen. It says if left untreated, the Chilean recluse bites can lead to serious infection, kidney failure, and even death. Even death. Crazy, folks. She says this is the first time since she's been out here that she's remotely considered tapping out. Let's move forward. Day 48, 10:19 in the morning. 7 people left. We're talking about Callie. She says, I didn't sleep any last night. She has 2 swollen glands in her groin. Infection has turned inward, she says. And then another annotation comes on the screen, and it says the spread of an infection to the lymphatic system can trigger serious complications like organ failure. She says she's been feeling like today might be her last day, which is wild. She says mentally she's fine, just doesn't want to go out at all. She doesn't want to leave. She wants to stay there, but has to take care of her body and won't put her health at risk. She says if this is her last day, then she's going to spend it in abundance. With abundance and joy and happiness and gratitude. So she's deciding to go out to all her favorite places and give gratitude, give thanks. So she hugs a tree. I think this is super cool. She's loving Mother Nature. She's showing appreciation to Patagonia. I think this is super cool. And I'm quoting her here. She says, sacred bamboo forest. I'm so grateful. She didn't expect this, but trusts that this is how it must be. Let's move forward. We're still on day 48. 7 people left. 11:42, we're talking about Dan. He plans to go check his lines. He's got to take it slow and easy. He says, if people don't like my strategy, F it. I don't really care. And then another annotation on the screen comes up and it says at 6'5" and over 200 pounds, Dan burns 2,000 calories a day just resting. He has a fish on the line. Another annotation comes on the screen and it says threading and clamping sticks to make a butterfly fillet is known as ponacing. This technique, my handwriting's terrible because I'm kind of tired. This technique was developed by indigenous tribes of the Pacific Northwest. He's talking about his mom, how she used to cook the fish, and how he used to call dibs on the little cracklings that were left behind after they'd eat the fish. And he's starting to think about his family a little bit. He wonders how his son Jax is holding up. He says that it just hit him that he misses his family. For the first time since he's been out there, he just wants to be home. I don't blame him. I mean, it's day 48, right? Let's move forward. 3:42 in the afternoon, 7 people left. Talking about Carly. Fishing time, she says. She found 2 worms and she's excited about that. Now, I'm going to tell you my personal thoughts. I think that it's pretty cool how she appreciates the little things in life. She talks about the summer after her parents got divorced that she started going to survival skills summer camps. She says she didn't always get along with her dad and didn't share with him what she was learning or who she was becoming. She says that's changed over the years as an adult, and she's looking forward to this adventure, being able to share this part of her self with the ones that she loves. She hopes she can make everybody proud. Now, my personal thoughts again, I think no matter what she does, just making the cut to be on alone and being out there 48 days, they're going to be proud. No doubt about it. I know I certainly would be if I was part of her family. I'd be completely proud of her. Now, she says the lack of protein is slowing her down. She's losing a lot of weight. And on day 28, she built a fish well out of rocks. Fish weir, excuse me. And there's an annotation on the screen that says fishing weirs are circular wedge-shaped traps. They're circular or wedge-shaped. Sorry, my writing is terrible. And that date back to the Stone Age. And then on day 36, she built a basket trap. Neither of those traps are working for her. So she's fishing with a bamboo pole. Looks like it's about 10 or 12 feet long. She says she doesn't know what else to do. Just keep on going, she says. Just keep going out, keep trying. And she catches a fish, but it gets away. Now it's 3:42 in the afternoon, right? So she says she doesn't know why she's struggling so much out there. And if she doesn't catch a fish, she might not be able to stay. She's getting emotional right now. And I would be too, to be completely honest with you. They're on day 48, folks. This is tough what they're going through. Let's move forward. We're still talking about Carly. We're still on day 48, 5:42 in the afternoon, 7 people left. And she says fishing doesn't seem like it's worth the effort, but she needs to find protein. She notices how much weight she's lost. She says, you can easily see my ribs. The sun is starting to go down and she sees a fish. She sees a little splash in the water. So she decides to go try to fish again. And what do you know? She catches a fish. And I'm like, yes! Every time something good happens to these people, it doesn't matter who it is, I feel like a personal victory, you know, like, good job, I'm glad. I feel good for them because a lot of us out here just sitting here being armchair quarterbacks, we have no idea what they're truly going through out there. You know, so when these small victories happen, I'm really excited for all the participants when these things happen. So she's crying, happy tears. She's so finally caught this fish, you know, and she looks up at the screen, and it was a beautiful shot. It was a beautiful moment, a beautiful shot, beautiful camera, you know, that she's filming herself. And she says, I'm so thankful for this fish. And she holds the fish up. That's the shot I'm talking about. It was so beautiful. Now she says that she wants, with all of her being, to stay out there as long as she can. She says she's stubborn and that she has a very strong will. And says, maybe I'm a crazy person, but I'm going to stick to that. I want to be the first female winner of Alone and wants to be a role model for young girls out there. My personal thoughts, I think she already is a role model to the youth, to the female youth. And I think everybody's going to be proud of her no matter what. I think she's awesome. I think everybody that goes out there and puts theirself in front of the camera and has all these mix of emotions, happy, sad, excited, crying, all these, every emotion under the sun. How can you not be appreciative of someone who puts themselves out there on that level? That's just my opinion. Let's move forward. Day 49. 11:17. 7 people left. We're talking about Greg. He decides he's going to move the camp where the firewood is. He collects the coals from his fire, puts them in his pot, and takes them to the new location so that he doesn't have to make a new fire. And it's raining outside. And he gets the fire made and says that the new shelter isn't going to be anything fancy. It's going to be just enough to keep the water off of him. And there's wood everywhere, and he's real happy right now. Moving forward, day 50. 50. Day 50. What a milestone. 2:19. We're talking about Dan. He's sitting there in deep thought. Now I'm noticing something. I'm noticing that all the competitors out there are starting to have this moment where they're breaking down. You're seeing a lot of shots of them, all of them, at some point in deep thought. I mean, they're contemplating some serious stuff in their heads. He's no different. He's bored. He doesn't know what to do at this point. That rings a bell. Carly said the same thing. It's idle time, just waste it away. What do you do? He says. I don't know. He's thinking about winning the $500,000, but he can't. And if he does, he can do a lot of things with it for his family. And he says they're the most important thing in his life right now by far. He says he thinks he always took them for granted and didn't realize that until he came here. He misses them. He still feels like he can win this thing. Now I'm quoting him here. He says, do I stay here, go for the prize money, or do I go back to my family? Wow. What a moment. What a moment. Let's move forward. 9:36 at night. 7 people left. We're still on day 50. We're talking about Greg. He's gonna go get some plants and debris for his new shelter, and he hears a squeak at his old shelter, and he said, someone misses us already. Let's move forward. 11:34 at night. Water, is coming up, and it's almost 6 feet within the last couple of hours, he said. It's only a few feet from his bed. An annotation comes on the screen, and it says barometric pressure changes on lakes, and that can cause a phenomenon resembling ocean tides called a seiche. I hope I'm saying that right. These tides can cause a shoreline to rise several feet, leading to flooding and damage. And he's not going to get any sleep tonight. He decides to keep tabs on it, stay awake, and keep an eye on this water that keeps coming up. Let's move forward. Day 51, 2 o'clock in the morning. We're still talking about Greg. It keeps coming up a couple of inches every half hour. And it's still pouring rain outside. It's a bad situation, he said. He's cold all the time. And he says that when he fell in the water and got hypothermic, that it makes a person make bad choices. And he feels at this point, right now, that moving was a bad decision that he made at the point when he was hypothermic. Man, at least he's honest. I mean, he's being brutally honest with us. I love this guy. Let's move forward. 4:17 in the morning. He's in his sleeping bag and he cannot seem to get warm no matter what he does. He says there's no way of getting warm out here. He says he thinks that he has second stage hypothermia. Then another annotation comes on the screen and it says second stage hypothermia can lead to confusion, irrational behavior, and loss of muscular control. Now my thoughts, part of that irrational behavior could have been what he said. The decision-making process of moving was a bad one. He says he can't deal with this. My thoughts, he's sitting there, I'm looking at him, and he's sitting there in his bedroll, which is waterproof, and he's shaking, and he can't get warm for nothing. Again, I mentioned it before, that I think that he's lost body fat to the point where he's not has that insulative factor anymore, and I think he's getting cold. Now, my other thoughts that go to this scene right here are that when he's shivering all night, this burns calories. And this is bad because it puts him in more of a calorie deficit, and he can't afford that. He's already lost a lot of weight. This isn't good. It's terrible. I feel bad for him. Let's move forward. Day 52. 7 people left. 9:21 in the morning. We have an interesting shot. We see a rescue boat cruising. And I don't have any idea who they're going after. And then the show puts on a quote. You can hear Dan talking. I think it's actually showing him. And he says, "I can't live out here forever. How do you get through another day? How do you get through another hour?" And then you hear Greg's voice. A quote. He says, "The best of us have a breaking point and your mind starts to give up on you. The sooner this ends for me, the better." So I just hear 2 quotes of 2 people, 2 stars on the show, that they're both talking about quitting, or and I'm thinking, man, and I'm looking at the screen and there's this rescue boat coming, and I'm thinking somebody's done, and I'm feeling sad because I would love to see every single one of them be the winner. I mean, I know that this isn't going to happen. Only one person's going to win, but I feel bad when I see somebody quit. Dan taps. It's Dan, and I'm shocked. I think Dan did an amazing job out here. He left it all out on the line. 52 days in Patagonia is no joke. And I'm quoting him. "I never looked at this as my home. I came here and looked at this like a cheap apartment. I've got to put my time in here until something better comes, and it's time to move on." And then another quote from Dan. He says, "I wanted to win that money, but when you reach a sense of fulfillment within yourself, you start to think about what's next. Where do you want to go with the rest of your life? And how do you want to improve your relationship with your family? And how do you want to make your child's life better? The money became null to me when I realized it's really time to get back home and move forward with my family." Wow. And the show ends there. All I gotta say is, Dan, if you're watching, you did amazing. Everybody out there has done an amazing job. I'm not here to judge anybody. 52 days in Patagonia with no food, no water. I don't care who you are. It's amazing. And any armchair quarterback that wants to criticize these people, they have no idea what it's like or what these people are going through. I go out and I do my training, and I do a week, maybe 2 weeks, and I do similar situations. I take my car and I have abundance of water and food and shelter and everything in the car as an emergency, but I don't break into that. I keep it there just in case. People know where I'm at. I have communication, cell phone and things like that. But I still test myself out in the woods and stuff with my skills. And even a week or 2 weeks is hard. So I in a small way, I know what they're going through. So all these armchair quarterbacks that are going to critique these people, please hold those thoughts until you've walked a foot in their steps. Now, I want to talk about the last thing that it shows on the screen, and it's kind of showing what could be in the future. There's 5 things it showed. It shows a quick shot of Greg, and he's sitting there shaking. He's talking about he didn't get no sleep at all. And he's talking about the hypothermia, and I'm getting the thought in my mind, I'm wondering if he's gonna quit. Because it reminds me of another shot where they put a thing to his back, and he's like, he pulls up his shirt and he's skin and bones. And I'm wondering if he's gonna quit. Then they show a second thing, it's Fowler. And he's got a bamboo bird cage, very similar to the kind of bird cage I use. And he's got a bird in the trap, maybe? Is he gonna catch a bird? Then we see Carly, and she's sitting in her shelter, and she's got her camera looking out the door, and there's either, it looks like a deer, maybe an elk, I think it's a deer. So is there going to be hunting possibilities for her? Because she was talking about that briefly. So Carly did that, and then Megan, we haven't seen her in a while, and she's hanging in there. She's surprising me because I thought she was gonna be quick to tap. No disrespect to her, but I'm surprised that she's here this long. And she's talking about catching a fox. She says it's either gonna be him or me. And I remember seeing footage of a fox like hanging in a snare or something. And then the last moment that it kind of gives a hint of is Dave. And he's drawing back on his bow like he's hunting. Maybe boar? I don't know. So the future episodes are going to be pretty exciting. So folks, I want to say thank you for joining me today on this episode 6 of Alone Season 3. I hope you got some good useful information. Once again, my apology for stumbling on my words so much, and you know, my writing was pretty crappy. I was kind of tired. But I'm trying to get this done before I go to work. I got to work early in the morning, and I wanted to get this done, get this out to you guys. I know you guys enjoy watching it, so hope you appreciate that. I want you guys to understand, too, that doing this Alone series is a lot of work. It takes a lot of notes. You know, I write a lot of notes, and it's not as easy as you guys might think. It takes a lot of my time, and I hope you guys appreciate that. So until next time, folks, again, thanks for watching. I hope you got some good, useful information out of this video. Please feel free to put your comments down below. Like this video. Share this video. Watch the video. And until next time, folks, thanks for watching. Have a beautiful day. We'll see you. Bye-bye. I'm off to bed.